Hello guys, welcome back to IC Shades and to our 2D Arena game course. In this one we will add a delay to our shooting, and all I ask of you in return is to click that IC like button and the subscribe one as well. All that being said, let's dive into it. First we will talk about Time.fixedDeltaTime. So go into the script, into our player script, and we will look at the movement. So we have rb.movePosition, rb position plus movement multiplied by speed. So if we hadn't multiplied by speed, our character would move 1 unity unit per fixed update, and that means 1 unity unit per 0.02 seconds. So we will do this. We will multiply with time dot fixed delta time and multiply with speed. So time dot fixed delta time equals with 0.02 seconds. So that means it equals to the time that passes after each fixed frame. So if we multiply it with time dot fixed delta time, then our player, and not multiplied with speed, then our player will move with 1 unity unit per second. And now writing multiply with speed, we can actually see more clearly the speed. So if the speed is 1, the player will move with 1 unity unit per second. If the speed is 10, then the player will move with 10 unity units per second. So we can see here that the speed is serialized, and now we can control S and go into Unity, and clicking on the player we can modify the speed, let's say to 2 unity units, and make this bigger and play to see that our player is moving with 2 unity units per second. Of course we can unclick this. I have my maximize on play clicked, selected, unselect this, and now let's put it to 5 and let's see a difference. Play again. Now he moves a little faster. You can modify this when the play is selected. Let's say 1 to see a difference. And now he's moving slower, but when we deselect play, then the value comes back to the value when we clicked play the first time. We will go back into our script and we can do the same thing to our add force, to our bullet, but I want to do another thing there. So to the add force function, we can write here force mode 2D dot force or impulse. Add an instant force impulse to the rigid body using its mass, and this is the same, but this force is 0 and the impulse is 1. And we will write impulse, and this is not influenced by the fixed update because the bullet is released into the scene, and then it won't be managed by the fixed update. It will be all on its own in the world. So here we just write like this: firing spot transfer dot up multiplied by bullet force, and the force mode 2D is impulse. But if we control S and leave it like this, we will go into Unity and click play and see what happens with this force mode impulse. Now our player is shooting very fast and we must decrease it, but he is shooting this fast because if you remember, we have our bullet force set to 200, so we will set it to, let's say, 5. Okay, and now if we click play, then we will see the bullet with 5 unity units per unit. So unselect play. So for our movement we use this this time dot fixed delta time because the movement is in the fixed update, but the bullet after its release, it's not its movement, it's not related to the fixed update. It's related to the fact that we add some force to it, and then he just moves with that force, not related to the fixed update. Now let's get into the actual title of the video. So go into your script, and the logic is like this. We will need two variables in order to delay the shoot. And the first variable will store the delay, the actual delay, the 0.5, the 1 second, the whatever you like. And the second variable will store time, and when the second variable will reach or be greater than the delay, then you will be able to shoot. The player will be able to shoot. So let's declare these variables. The delay one will be a serialized field because we want to access it from our inspector, so float delay. And the second one won't be serialized, float as well, and we will call it time since last bullet, semicolon. And we will go into our function, our shooting function, and we have here if the mouse is clicked, and for the logic of and we use double and sign, and the time since last bullet will be greater or will equal the delay, then we will instantiate, we will create the bullet and we will fire the bullet. And after all this happens, our time since last bullet will become 0 f semicolon. Initialize it right here to 0 as well. And now we have to increase the time since last bullet after the bullet is fired, and we will do it here in the private void shoot. Because the private void shoot is called every fixed update, that means every 0.02 seconds, we will write time since last bullet will equal time since last bullet plus time dot fixed delta time. Because today we learned that time.fixedDeltaTime will equal 0.02 seconds in our case. Actually, it will equal the time between the fixed frames. So now the logic says like this. The time since last bullet is 0. Every 0.02 seconds, the time since last bullet will increase with 0.02 seconds. And when it reaches the delay, then we can access the function here and our bullet can be released. Okay, so let's test it. Do not forget to Control S to save your script after every move. Go into Unity, click on the player, you will see here delay, and we will set it to 1 second. Let's play. And we can do two things. We can hold the mouse button or we can click like a maniac. If we hold the mouse button, the bullet is fired once every other second, and if we click like a maniac, the same result. If we go a little lower to 0.3, now the player is shooting much faster. Okay guys, so in the last two videos we haven't had this section, so now I will have for you 4 questions. So what do we need and what is the order for instantiating an object? Position rotation, original object, position rotation, original object, rotation, position. Check them out and try to answer correct. And if you have chosen C, original object, position, rotation, then you are correct. That is the correct order. So now that we have the order in check, let's go next and instantiate bullet prefab as a game object in the firing spot with the firing spot rotation, firing spot being a game object. So check them all out and see where you can find the correct one. And if you have chosen C, that is correct. Let's see. For A, we have bullet prefab firing spot dot position, and as the firing spot is a game object, we must write firing spot dot dot transform dot position, because we need have to access the transform and then the position. The same thing with B, because we have firing spot dot rotation, and we must have firing spot dot position dot transform dot rotation. And with D, the problem is that we don't have a type for our bullet game object. We must write game object before we declare the variable bullet. Next, what is the value of time.fixedDeltaTime? 0.01, 0.02, time between frames, or time between fixed frames? I think this is an easier one, and if you have chosen D, time between fixed frames, then you are correct. In our case, time.fixedDeltaTime equals 0.02f, but we can change that. If you remember from the last lectures, we can change that, and the correct answer is time between fixed frames. We can put that to 0.01, we can put that to 1 second, whatever we want. So the last one, store the rigid body 2D in a variable. Check the answers and see what is wrong with 3 of them and choose the correct one. Okay, so if you have chosen C, rigid body 2D RB, semicolon, RB equal get component rigid body 2D parentheses and semicolon, then you are correct. So for the first one, we don't have parentheses at the end, and get component rigid body 2D is a function, so we need the parentheses at the end. For the second one, for B, we don't have 2D in rigid body, and since we are working in 2D, it's very important to distinguish rigid body 2D from rigid body simple, and that is a rigid body 3D. C is correct, and for D, we don't have parentheses and we don't have the 2D as well. If you have answered all of them correctly, or 1 or 2 or 3, then good job. If not, you can always revisit the lectures, and then you will answer them correctly. That's it for now, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Until next time, stay frosty and extra spicy.